This morning, the Spirit of God is telling me, or reminding me, or touching a memory, and also a artistic realm where the loving Father sends you out to build your faith, and sends you out for the purpose of making you stronger, and sends you out for the purpose of raising you up. That's really it, raising you up. But all the while he does that, he is concerned about you. He thinks about you. He wonders how you're doing. But he doesn't go overboard. He's not like a helicopter mom or something, Korean, Asian mom. He knows that you need to do this. He knows that you need to be alone. He knows that you need to try on your own. And look at this. He sees them straining at rowing, for the wind was against them. So they're trying on their own. They're trying to fight the winds and the storm. They're trying to stay afloat and not tip over. They are trying on their own. And at the first sign of difficulty, it's not like Jesus appears to them at the first sign of difficulty. He doesn't just plop up. He lets them struggle. Strain. Ooh, I like that word, straining. He lets them strain. Because he knows through straining, they're going to learn something. It's interesting when you are raising people up, right, or training them, and you see them straining, you know it's good for them. You know they're getting stronger. You know they're getting. You know that strain is temporary pain, but in the long run, it is development. That strain is so critical. So a high level professor or coach will see you straining and say, that's really good. That pushed you today. That made you work and grow today. That made you strain, and that strain, that pain, is going to make you better. And then when they cannot go anymore, but the fourth watch of the night. So now it's the fourth watch of the night. It was the evening and now fourth of the night. So he may have left them there for a couple hours.
I said all night. Fourth watch, I looked it up next morning.
Ooh, fourth watch is morning. So he left them all night straining. That's a good point. He left them there all night and he was watching from the shore. Ooh, isn't that interesting? Fourth watch is almost morning time. That really changes the picture, doesn't it? He is watching them on the ocean, straining, with the winds blowing, all night long. He's letting them go through the tribulations, letting them try to figure this out by themselves, letting them try to go against the winds, letting them try to stay afloat. reminds me of also when we went to Maine this time. Greg let me borrow his kayak, and we did a little kayaking on the ocean. And it's really a different experience than a lake. I mean, you can feel the swells. You can feel the ocean waves and the swells coming in. So this thing is moving up and down. It's a very different experience because the kayak is also very, can easily tip. And they're on a boat. We don't know what type of boat. But those boats that they're riding on are probably made out of wood 2,000 years ago. I don't know what else they were made out of at that time. It would probably be wood. But all night long, he lets them row, 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 row. Strain, 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 strain. All night long. Very interesting. And then after that whole night has passed, he comes to them walking on the sea. And would have passed them by. That's an interesting section there. Walking on the sea and would have passed them by. But they saw him. And they said, "Oh, shoot, that's a ghost." They cried out and said, "Oh my gosh, that's a ghost." But immediately talked with them and said to them, "Be of good cheer. Do not be afraid. It is I." And then he says about and then the wind ceased. So the wind was blowing all night long, beating them up, throwing that boat around, tossing and turning. They're not able to be successful, bring the boat in. That's how strong they're. Like they probably had, close to a dozen people on the boat, but they couldn't paddle through that wind. So that wind must have been pretty strong. Then he comes up and says, "Do not be afraid." He went into the boat, and the wind ceased. And they were greatly amazed in themselves, beyond measure, and marveled. This almost feels like when Father was doing workshops in the ocean, and then there would be the students or the participants would be out in the ocean, and they would be fishing and doing that training. And then Father would appear. He would appear, his boat, for example, would show up, and I remember sometimes we would get up close to the other boats. And the people were so happy to see him. They were like freaking out. Especially with their Japanese sisters on there, like, ah! It's like the happiest thing. I mean, you're out in the middle of the ocean, and Father just appears on this boat right next to it, and he pulls up. Sometimes it was in earshot. Excuse me. Sometimes it would be right up close. Sometimes it would be a couple hundred yards away, but you can still see everything that's happening on the boats. And you can see them, and you can see as soon as Father gets close, there's no longer anybody fishing. Everybody's trying to get a view of Father, Everybody's trying to get a view of Father. Everybody's trying to see get close to Father. And of course, you have the captain on that boat saying, "Don't get on that one side of the boat. We're gonna tip it." But it's like all after all that cheongsam, right? Going on the ocean, doing the training Father gave you, and then when he shows up, that sort of excitement. You know, that the waters, even though you're out there, you're fighting the elements in this, let's say it's just windy, but it's like, it's just constant kind of monotonous things, you know. It's the wind. The wind is blowing at you, blowing at you, blowing at you. And you're just trying to fight it, fight it, fight it, fight it. You're like this. And then there's that experience. The Lord returns. Appears. It's like you forget everything else when he comes. You forget everything else. And there's this excitement because you know something has to change when he shows up. Ooh, something has to change when he shows up. The winds and the waves must change when he shows up. Isn't it interesting that the disciples are no longer thinking of the winds and the waves? Especially after they see Christ, because they see him as they think it's a ghost, and he's walking by. But then it says he immediately talks. As soon as they're like, "Oh my goodness, what is that? It's a ghost. It's a ghost!" And then he immediately speaks, and he says, "Be of good cheer. It is I. Don't be afraid." He's like, "What are you freaking out about? What's wrong with you guys? What are you freaking out about? I'm just walking on the ocean."